In today's episode, a manager told me not to do part of my job, so I didn't. Don't piss off IT. Don't piss off IT Part 2. So let's get started. A manager told me not to do part of my job, so I didn't. This was a few years ago when I worked in a 4-star hotel chain that would be very well known and was part of a larger company that had hotels of varying status. I was about 24. There were a few of us who worked primarily in room service, and the breakfast shift was always a solo shift. One morning I started, and as was customary, I started doing my prep, folding napkins, setting up 5/6 trays with pastries etc. per the pre-ordered breakfast cards, so I would only need to grab the correct tea/coffee and hot food later, as well as a few extra all-purpose trays for the people who call for room service last minute. I just get finished with this when the duty manager, I can't remember his full name, but nickname was Prem, bursts into the kitchen with a dirty plate in his hand and sees me in my area, while putting it in the pile of dishes for the kitchen porter. He tells across the kitchen, "What are you doing? It's so crazy out there that I have to help clear tables and you are back here? Get out and help." I replied that I had not gone up and walked the halls to collect the trays left out overnight yet, and he yelled some more and repeated that if he, a manager, is clearing tables, I better help regardless of if my job is actually in a different area. For the record, Prem was a menace. I witnessed him yell in college girls' faces until they cried several times. He would also routinely pick on anyone that was minimum wage floor staff. So I walk into the restaurant and the supervisor, Jen, is at the door and sees me walk in. She covers for room service, and has worked it in the past, so she knows I should be collecting trays now, so that the place doesn't look like a war zone upstairs. She asks if I've done this and I say no, Prem sent me in to help because it's so busy. She says it's not very busy at all, they don't need me, and I should go upstairs and collect the dirty trays. I walk back into the kitchen and Prem is still standing there. "What are you doing? I told you to go in and help." I went in and Jen said they don't need me and told me to collect the trays. He then accuses me of going to her and asking can I go collect trays to get out of helping, so I tell him he can in and ask her if she called me, or if I approached her. This satisfies him that I'm at least not lying, but he's still not happy. He says I'm the duty manager. Manager. Jen is a supervisor. I'm higher up, so you do what I tell you. Go in there and help clear tables. I don't want to see you going up to collect trays. I go back into the restaurant and Jen looks at me confused. I tell her that Prem insists that I help and won't let me go upstairs, and says he outranks her, so she says I should join the guys at Station 1 and help their area. Breakfast passes and I pop out a few times to do my room services and come back with not much issue. My shift is until 3 p.m. and breakfast ended at 10:30 a.m. At this point nobody has been upstairs and housekeeping will have been putting out dirty trays. I get a call on the room service mobile from a housekeeping manager saying that floor 4 has a dozen or so trays in the hall. I'm sorry, the duty manager has prioritized other areas at the moment and has said I cannot go up. I start doing my afternoon prep, polishing cutlery and the like. About 12 p.m. I get another call, this time from the housekeeping's top manager. She tells me there is trays everywhere, and I politely apologize and explain that my duty manager has used the exact words "I don't want to see you going up to collect trays." She accepts this without question and asks that I help when I can. At 2 p.m. I get a call from the hotel's director of operations regarding the trays. At this point there are trays in the hallways on all 7 floors and the place looks filthy. Again, I politely explain what instructions I've received from Prem, and this is accepted without further question, and he says he will inquire into it. 3 p.m. arrives, and I have not heard anything else, nor have I cleaned up the pigsty upstairs. My replacement arrives and I tell him what happened and apologize for the fact that he will have to collect these, but tell him why. He laughs and decides to leave it until somebody else calls and informs him they are there. Shortly after this, Prem left the company. Don't piss off IT. Hi all, first time posting. Not too far back in my career I was working at a lighting design company. Makes lighting fixtures for richer people, costs a lot of money. Well, this company has been pen and paper for inventory and work orders etc., and are trying to join the digital age. Well, in comes me college kid with a computer science degree and no experience. They say we will give you a raise while working our technical aspects and give you more work time. I had a wedding to pay for, so more money and time is a huge thing at this point in life. So I needed a decent PC to run the 3D modeling software, internet, the inventory system, and a lot of time to put all the different models into a database. They got me a cheap PC, poor internet connection, had no inventory system, and wanted a from the ground up full database in 6 months with no issues. They said they would check monthly on my progress to grade my tenacity. Now I go to work, I get the models built, and into a file type to be transferred to a database, start scouting different servers I could use for this, cost effectiveness, or I could write my own program as a basic prototype to just get it done. It's been hell to work with the bosses, as they keep using the cheapest trial software, and every time they do it ends with me having to start from scratch yet again, because they want pay for a good system, swearing that they can easily save money. Finally I have about 90% of them file done, and it's 2 weeks from the deadline, Christmas time and final exams for my certs. Well, boss number 2 calls and tells me they forgot to check for the last 5 months, and begins screaming how I was incompetent for not having even half of them done. I was bewildered. He say to check Form A2 for the list of pieces they wanted done. They never sent me that list, it was in no email, not in the team file share. Nothing. He says here is the file, why didn't you say anything sooner? Get it done, I don't care what it takes. By the way, with this terrible performance you're not getting a raise. How was I supposed to know of a form that never existed? I look at the file, it took 5 months to translate and store 300 of these files. With that form he added another one, 300-ish. I was pissed. The malicious compliance. They told me work from home, and as long as it takes. So I made a macro with my PC, and set it up to fill out those files, but the macro speed was limited by Google Sheets loading time, may have purposefully slowed it down, who knows, so it was slightly slower than hand typing but required no input from me. I was free to spend my time playing games, watching TV etc. Well, about a week in, and I get a call about me never clocking out for work. I told him to look at the files, every time a file was added it was clocked in the system down to the second. Never had I heard man so pissed about losing that much in wages. What pushed him over the edge was me telling him the money spent paying me for doing this was more than just giving me good software, but I did what it took to get it done. The paycheck was great, the time off was great, and they still don't know how a macro works. Don't piss off IT Part 2. Hi all, Part 2. So it is now after Christmas break, pass my cert exams, spend time with family, and I get told we are having a meeting. I meet with the bosses who tell me I won't be getting any form of raise, typically we get one annually, and my supervisor recommended me highly for one, that I will receive no extra hours, and I shall not exceed 20 hours. They knew about the wedding, my new apartment etc. They knew that would hurt my finances. Boss number 2 from before states how he could do it so much faster and better than I ever did, and he would handle it himself. They said that any information I had on the project had to be handed over. Flash forward 2 months to another meeting, you see the files meant to go to the database? They were all wrong, he never sent them to the company they wanted to work with for the database until after the deadline and only sent one file. The kicker is the formatting was wrong, file type was wrong, everything. Now they were sweating bullets because they just had to pay me for all of that work with nothing to show, and it was all his fault for not checking. They say it's not too bad as long as I take the files I have and make these chung. I don't have any files. I sent them the files 2 months ago in an email and confirmed receiving it, then deleted it off my PC like they said. Boss number 2 confirmed it, and I pulled up the email confirmation, but he never downloaded the files nor kept the email. Could I have told them I didn't delete it from my sent folder? Sure, but they don't want to pay for an IT guy, right? Well, they signed me back to the project and to work from home. I get to repeat the macro usage. Now the fun part. They kept asking me to fix the formatting to be a certain way, but kept not asking the database company if it was right before telling me to work. So I would spend 2 to 3 weeks, with plenty of OT, to fix up all the files, then get told that there is a different issue that needs to be fixed, in all of the files. All 1,600 of them. So after 3 to 4 months of video gaming, Reddit browsing, anime watching and collecting a nice paycheck, I get another phone call. Boss number 2 says I work too many hours and the limit is still true, and I need to stop clocking so many. Well, going from the 55 to 60-hour weeks to 20 is going to triple the time to correct mistakes. He states he doesn't care, and they won't pay me if I work longer, which is illegal if I'm not mistaken. Q new company, a machinist company, sends me several emails about me working there. Apparently the code they use for their CNC is not too far off from the mechanics I learned in computer science and needed more people. Offered me 40 hours with OT, paid vacation time and holidays, which the current company never did, and higher pay. So 2 weeks later I'm working at a machine shop for the first time. Higher pay, better hours, liking management and my new coworkers. I hear from a friend still at the other place that they had to outsource the database creation for double what they were paying me. Company number 1 uses my new job to make some of their parts. They get to see me smiling every time they pick up parts. Every cent I made on them went to the wedding. Been loving the new job and thanks for reading. It might not be the field I wanted, but it's a job I love. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.